like to call the Board of Selectmen Mayor meeting to order September 15th, 7 p.m. Will you please stand, remove your caps, follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Item 3, public participation. Would anybody in the audience like to speak, ask a question, or make a comment?
David Denone, 85 Vandale Street, Putnam, Connecticut. Yes, Mayor Balzerano, in regards to the minutes of September 2nd, they are inaccurate, as I made a formal request of you to have Mr. Cutler give me the names of the selectmen present, a motion and a discussion of the appropriation of the internal landfill. It is not reflected on this minutes that I made that request to you. I am also noting that Mr. Cutler did bring me to the May 1st meetings minutes. However, the meeting started at 6:30 p.m., ended at 7:12. However, there is no detail of any discussion made concerning the landfill and its correct and appropriate appropriations. I am therefore formally requesting the audio of the May 1st meeting. May I ask for a price on that audio?
If I can email that to you, sir, it's free of charge.
You will, that's fine. I'll give you my email. Any questions?
And that would be May 1st of,
May 1st.
of 2014?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's relax your Doug.
We all remember discussing that package that we wanted to fund out of the ash landfill account. Remember?
To borrow against.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got to find out which meeting that was.
Was
it May 1st?
There is a certain procedure that the Board of Selectmen must follow in order to do this. The motion, the vote came upon number 8, which said that there was a recommendation from the Board of Finance. I have not found any recommendation from the Board of Finance or a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen that you agreed to do this internal landfill. Somehow it just magically appeared on the agenda. I'm still waiting, and I'd be glad when you can provide me with that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else would like to be heard? Yes, Mr. Beaufort. Sorry I couldn't meet you this afternoon.
Well,
I
the
was up country.
secretary knew why I was there, so.
Yeah. Well, I was gone for 10 days, so I'm trying to catch up.
Well, it's nice you enjoyed your vacation. You look refreshed.
Yeah. Didn't take long.
I'm going to talk about clarification.
Go right ahead.
Well, 2 weeks ago, you had a meeting. You chaired it. And there was reference to fees for the school project. Okay? The fees were never mentioned. But I'm of the understanding now that it's $405,360 that you talked about. And you had a motion to waive them. Now, the clarification I want to know is,
Building fees you're talking about, right? Building permit, yeah.
yeah, when you go get a permit, you pay fees.
Yeah.
Nobody's applied for a permit yet. No mention was made of who's going to draw a permit. But my question really is on the clarification. If the voters give you permission or approval, or however you word it, for $36 million, then you waive fees. Are you adding those onto that and giving them more money to play with? Or when you subtract all your grants and then you have to come in with the final payment, are you going to subtract the $405,000 plus dollars so that it comes out exactly 36 million? So that's what I don't know that all of you understood what you all did.
I don't think anyone thinks it's going to come out at exactly $36 million.
Well, I thought.
Anyone in this room, anyone in the board.
No.
Yeah.
Well, then you gotta go. then you gotta go back to the voters if you're gonna spend more money.
No,
We
it's
didn't say- we're
up
not-
to $36 million.
Up to 36,
But if
anything
you're gonna
below
go
that,
above it, you're
we're not gonna
We're
go
not gonna go
above it.
above
We
that.
can't.
Well, this is
we
what the
can't go above
clarification
it.
is.
The clarification is, whatever the voters voted on, 36.6 million, that's it. There won't be a penny above that.
Well, you just, my understanding, say, is that you added another 400,000. And I hope that what I'm talking about is the fact that when you go in with your final payment, you actually subtract that, so that you won't be giving them an extra $400,000. Now, whether you can put it in the minutes that that's what you did, or we wait until you do it and then we have to, attack you.
I think the,
Good, Scott, he's on the building committee.
well, no, I think the more important number to look at the end of this project is what the town's liability or the town's share would be, okay? And when we went into this project, we told the voters it's a $36 million project. We had hoped for a 73% reimbursement rate on part of the project, and there were two sections of the school that were figuring on a 0% reimbursement rate. That was the medical pathways and the PALS program, and we were looking at a half of the 73% for the superintendent's office. So our net exposure as a town would have been like $16.5 million. That's what you would have been bonding. When the project's over, we won't know the final number until the project's over, but the good news is, through the help of our state representative, Danny Rivero, and our state senator, Don Williams, and others, they were able to get the whole project looked at with the 73% reimbursement rate, meaning that your net share, I know 400,000 sounds like a lot of money, but your net share, instead of the 16 million, is going to be cut millions below that.
3.
I understand all
So-
of that. I'm
so
just
it-
trying to
I'm
make
just
sure
saying
you
it-
don't add it on.
At the end of the day, there was discussion. We said, well, look, if the voters said, yeah, we're going to go in and spend 16 million, and it's only going to come out to 10, 11, or 12 million, some people wanted to bump it up so we could net it out. Can't do that. So what I'm saying is that, and we won't know, the project's slated to complete sometime in February of 17 was the last estimate. That's when we'll go out to our final bonding, and you'll know the exact amount. But from what I'm told, all indications are it's going to be a lot less than we originally told you. So that's the good news.
Can I finish my question now?
Sure.
Who's the contractor and when's the permit gonna be drawn?
O&G is our general, what do you call him? General contractor. Construction manager.
How come
Thank
it's
you.
been so mysteriously, avoided as far as?
It hasn't. We've been having public meetings. I think we're up to 47 or 48 meetings. Some citizens come and attend. The press, it's not the most exciting meeting in the world, picking out, carpeting colors or tile or things like that, or determining how big a bathroom stall is going to be. But the meetings are open to the public. There's nothing been behind closed doors.
And the permit, when?
What's that?
When will the permit be drawn?
As soon as the general contractor's been
Right.
selected.
He's been selected, so in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
My only comment on that is, they've had 48 meetings, and I would be willing to bet that 90% of the people in Putnam don't know who the chairman of that committee is. They've never been on the talk show. There's very little in the paper. I agree with you. I think it should be more informative, especially when you got a $36 million nut out there. And I'm gonna tell you this, it won't go over that, not one penny.
Okay.
Okay, approval of minutes, number 4, September 2, 2014, Board of Selectmen minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second. Are there any additions or corrections?
Discussion?
I didn't finish that. Discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, Delphi, is there any new news on the LaPointe building?
It's not about the minutes.
Yeah, that's in there.
But that would be in her new report. The discussion
I don't
of the
think
minutes
it's,
is
I don't
only
think
on the
it's in
minutes.
that new report. That's what-
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up.
I had heard that the building had been sold. I checked with the town clerk. She gave me the name of the person that it has been sold to. But since then, I've heard that only half of the share has been sold, but I have not looked into that before. Up until now, I just heard that today, or Friday actually. So when I called the town clerk, she didn't say a certain percentage of the building or the shares had been sold.
Oh.
So, yes.
Okay.
With that, all of those in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Item 5, petitions of communication, letter dated August 27, 2014, State of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development regarding our status as a distressed municipality. Letter dated August 27, 2014 from Wheelabrator regarding the groundwater discharge permit, 60-day accident notification report. C, letter dated August 28, 2014 from Wheelabrator regarding the discharge monitoring report, July 2014. This report in its entirety is available in the mayor's office during normal business hours for review. D, letter dated September 4th, 2014 from Wheelabrator regarding the facility and wastewater treatment system modification, notification, and request for approval. Response to supplemental information request. This report in its entirety is available in the mayor's office during normal business hours for review. Any questions on those letters and petitions?
Yes. August 27th, Doug, we need to know when the evaluation is completed on the issues that we've been having with chloride, sodium, calcium, and whatnot. So if you could, get together with Ashley and Phil, if you could.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Item 6, reports and standing committees, codification.
I've got to sit down with Don Johnson. We're going to start reviewing those portions of the code that might have pertain to zoning issues. So Don and I will sit down and we'll go through those particular parts of the existing code.
Excellent. 7, reports of special committees. Wheelabrator contract review. That you, Scott?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, on our last meeting, we did not have a quorum, so we couldn't have the meeting. We've rescheduled it to this Wednesday, 6 p.m., the 17th. So hopefully we'll have a quorum and move forward and hopefully wrap the deal up.
Perfect. B, charter revision. Doug?
I'm going to try to start schedule a meeting on September 24th and 25th or the next weekend.
Okay, C is Putnam Facilities. We have a meeting tomorrow. It's the first meeting of the totally new committee, and at that time we'll pick a chairman and put our priorities in order. 8, staff reports. You received the economic and community development, the building official, the DEO report, the town planner report, as well as the assessor's report. Does anybody have any questions for those people that are here tonight from your information that you received?
No.
Scott?
I have a question. At our last meeting, I asked about who was in charge of enforcing the blight ordinance out in Putnam, and I was told that was our building official. So I made a formal, filled out your PDF form online, and I sent it to you. And I'm looking at his report here, and of course this is August. Maybe there were no blight reports in August, but I don't see any activity on blight inspections. And I was just curious how long it takes to get a blight inspected once it's reported, or what the procedure is. What's that?
I think we might have to ask him.
Well,
He might not put his.
He hasn't been including
Okay.
any zoning complaints, he
But-
hasn't been including any,
But I asked in my request for a follow-up after the inspection was made or contact was made. I haven't received anything. That's as a private citizen, so. if somebody
What's
could
the
follow up.
proper, I
Right, I
have the
don't know
same
what-
question. I
right.
have the same question because I had a couple people approach me. So, Norm, I know you're involved a little bit on that end of it. Could you tell us?
Truthfully, on my behalf as fire marshal,
Yeah.
I have Scott's in front of me.
Okay.
I get very few official complaints.
Is that
I
because
think we
people
have
don't
that
know
with
where to
this.
go?
I'm sorry?
Is that because people don't know where to go?
I have no idea. I know that we had met with the building official, his secretary, the mayor, and I think Doug, and we asked for proper direction on how do we approach these things. We simply can't go out to a blighted property in the conditions that they're in and mandate or fine these people when they don't have the money simply to do the corrections themselves. What do you want us to do? I had approached Doug and the mayor about properly addressing it by having those individuals meet with us first so we can explain our situation, give them proper direction, hopefully clarify some of the things, and have them corrected before we get involved with fining these people. Hasn't happened yet.
I think we got a breakdown now. We really gotta get something working so that this happens.
That was a difficult ordinance to enforce from the get-go.
Right.
Everywhere in the whole state, it's a difficult
There's
one.
169 towns, and 169 towns are trying to grapple with that situation. And, you know, one town, I think it was Shelton, increased the fines like unbelievable. And if the person doesn't have the money to fix up the property, how the heck are they gonna pay the fine? So you're, again, I said it last time, we're a sheriff without a gun. And it's a hard thing to do. Are you gonna throw these people out in the street? You know, we had a complaint today. House is in foreclosure, they threw everything out in the street, it's right around Kennedy Drive. You know, we're gonna have to probably bite the bullet and pick that up ourselves. Contacted the owner, might as well talk to this gavel. Go ahead, Norm.
Continuing with that, we got enough, do you know how many foreclosed properties we have in town right now? I got a binder that thick.
I was gonna say about 60.
I'm thinking of 120 or more, or more. Some of them are foreclosed properties that are in good condition. Others are very questionable. I'll go back to 2007 when we had the fire at Palo property. That property remains as it has at that time. It is wide open to the general public. There are people in and out of there. We cannot get any kind of enforcement. My understanding is that the state has been involved and there was some grant monies available to do some demolition. It's still standing exactly as it was the day we had the arson fire. What do you want to do with it? I'm open to suggestions.
Well, what's the date of enforcement in terms of getting that done? There's supposed to be a date.
Who's going to do it and when? Mr. Palo has since deceased. I believe it's in an estate. So who are we approaching? You want to talk right here on Providence Street and the former Middlemass Marine property and the condition of that's another arson fire. Two arson fires in that particular location. And that building is wide open. What do you want to do with it? To say nothing about all the private homes that have been neglected. What do you want to do with them? On the private homes, I would recommend that we notify the owner, bring them in here, sit down with them, and say, what can you do to make some of these adjustments so we can move forward without having to fine you? And fine you on every single situation that is a violation? These people aren't going to afford to do that. They can't fix the properties themselves. I've approached a number of residences and talked to them. Clean up the yard, put the stuff away. And that'll help us eliminate those particular problems. And they have. But we got to talk to them. You just can't go up there and say, I'm fining you for this, and this, and they're going to take you to court. You're talking about sidewalks, simple sidewalks in town. The owner is responsible to maintain and repair or replace the sidewalks on public streets. How many sidewalks do we have in disrepair? Town-owned properties that we're not doing anything with because we don't have the money to do it. So we're going to cite ourselves.
I know it's a like situation, but I want to just stick on to the blight because I know all about the sidewalks. It's the cost of the
sidewalks is part of your blight situation. It's in there.
Well, I think the original question was that Scott was waiting to get some information on that,
Well,
so
so maybe I was told a different, last meeting I was told that it was, for East Putnam, it was repost. But now you gotta
If I'm
clarify.
not mistaken, the blight ordinance that we have adopted is the building official, fire marshal, and police chief.
all of the above.
Who do we contact in the event that we need a police officer out in East Putnam? State police, you think they care?
Right.
No, they don't.
That's the problem.
But that's who the enforcement is out there, unfortunately, we can't help that.
Well, what does our blight ordinance depict? What does it, what's the proper protocol in terms of our blight ordinance with regard to the town, as Scott alluded to? I mean, does the state police play a role in it?
Of course,
No.
well, they do because they have jurisdiction out there.
Right.
So
Right.
if a police officer is needed out in East Putnam, the state police has the jurisdiction. We can't send.
Do you think
Right,
Troop
but
needs
we
to go
can't
out
make
there
them go.
So,
and
I mean,
enforce the
We can't
blight?
make them.
I mean, we can have
Print
all the
some-
good
print
intentions
it
in the
out?
world, we're
Can we
not
print it
able
out?
to accomplish anything because we're not getting the cooperation from everybody
It's
involved.
unenforceable ordinance, basically.
That's what it is. We
That's
never
what it
should have
is.
done it. We never should have passed it.
Every town has one, the state has one, and they can't enforce it.
I think the intention of it was to do exactly what was
Right.
stated, was to try to get people to the point that we're not finding them, to talk to them about it.
Right.
And give you the gun if you needed to find them.
Right.
You had the option to do so. I don't think we were trying to go out there and find everybody. It was more of a way to give you the opportunity to do what you needed to do.
Right,
Am
it's,
I incorrect, Doug?
yeah.
May I address this?
There's a reason, oh,
Yes, of course.
William?
The purpose of the blight ordinance, as I understood it, was to do two things. To give town staff an enforcement tool where you can say, this is what is required, this is what's written down, this is where you're not meeting the criteria. And also to give specific definitions, so it wasn't if somebody called up and was mad at their neighbor because they hadn't cut the lawn in the last 3 weeks, they couldn't file a complaint. A lot of work was put into the ordinance. The problem is that we do not have a lot of staff, especially daytime staff, to enforce these kinds of things. Killingly has this, and they have significantly greater staff than we do, and they're still struggling with it. And East Putnam is always an issue because we don't control or set the priorities for the police department. But it's still designed to deal with the most egregious situations, and in those egregious situations, if it's a life safety issue, both the fire marshal and the building official have the powers to issue orders. There was a discussion of the Palo property. I know the town has boarded that up at least a couple of times. The town went out and got a judgment. Mr. Palo agreed that he was going to demolish certain buildings, and he subsequently died, which is, I think, a reasonable excuse for non-performance. And the economic development has been working with them and with the state of Connecticut to attempt to get those things taken down without cost to the town. But when you have an estate and a trust and 17 different people to work with to try to figure out who's got the power to over the property, etc., those things slow down. But there are an almost unlimited number of buildings in town that you could board up to make completely safe, but we don't have the manpower or the financial resources, so I think we've got to just try to deal with the most egregious situations.
and if I may, Norm, part of the reason there's a notice given before a citation and a fine is to allow for the kind of discussion that you're having, or that you're wanting to have, is to put people on notice, there's a complaint's been made that there's a problem, and then to initiate that discussion to figure out how to resolve it, to figure out maybe a time frame for resolving it, hit certain points of fix this by this date, this by this date. I don't think any of us who worked on that ordinance thought it was going to be simply something's wrong, bam, you're hit with a fine because you didn't fix it immediately. I think we all knew it was going to involve a process, but it was going to be better than having nothing at all. And it could include people like you in that process.
And I think there's a mandatory contact before you can
Right.
assess a fine.
There is,
So
yeah.
that gives you exactly what you're talking
So
about.
who takes the lead on this? Who is getting the complaints, and where's the lead? Because I am not getting notified.
If I may.
Go ahead.
Initially, complaints were supposed to come to me so that we would have a way to track and make sure that I have 4 complaints. That's all I have. So I don't know where they're going.
So
That's
after
my
you
question.
got
Where do
them,
they
after
go?
you got them, what did you do with them?
The one that you mentioned, I copied Norm and Lee on.
I have yours, Scott, did that last week.
But, so if Norm doesn't know if he's the lead and Lee doesn't know if he's the lead, I think we got a problem.
There, yes.
Well, the first lead, that's the problem with the blight ordinance, is that you have three people that, you know, you're supposedly responsible. And the reason for that was, if somebody goes out and sees something, then the police department should be able to have the ability to call that in or do whatever they want. If Norm goes out and sees something, then that's his ability to do that. But not technically, the first way we should be able to handle this is through our zoning enforcement officer and our building official, which is where the lead should be and where the complaint should be directed. If it's a life safety issue, that should go to Norm. But also they have the responsibility as enforcement officers to, on their own, to go out and see properties and take action upon themselves to cite those properties or to work in terms of trying to get those properties cleared up. So that's why we had three particular officials responsible for that.
And also because the officials, we have one part-time official with really a full-time job. We have a second part-time official with what could be a full-time job. And we have the chief of police who
It's not a full-time job.
plus these additional duties. So I think part of the reason was also so that the people, depending on if it was in or out of the special services district, so could go to them and you could figure out among yourselves who has the most time to deal with it.
But it is.
You know, or who would be the best person to address it. That, admittedly, that wasn't addressed formally in the ordinance, but I guess it hadn't seemed to me that it needed to. We needed to say, you shall talk amongst yourselves.
So if it goes out of East Putnam, you take the police chief right out of the ballpark.
Right, exactly.
It's not, the
It should be
enforcement
lead.
is not the state police action.
Right.
It's not the police
Putnam
in
police.
Putnam. That,
Right.
it's not their primary responsibility to
No.
go after blight.
Correct.
It's only that they had, the ordinance set it up so that they would have the opportunity, if they see something, to try to take some action on it. But it's not their primary responsibility, so they shouldn't necessarily be taking the lead. I think the lead has to be, and it should have been the lead from the beginning, was the zoning enforcement officer and the building official. And then he would coordinate it to go to the fire marshal. Unfortunately, it got, I wouldn't say diluted, but we got three different entities out there that possibly can take enforcement action.
And I would say also talk to Rick, because if I recall correctly, Rick had been willing to do sort of some of the cat herding, to even though not all complaints were within his jurisdiction, and I don't know to what extent he's created any sort of a system for that.
So let's back up. So
Yeah.
let's back up to a complaint out in East Putnam, like my complaint. So now we have to, I would suggest, talking to the building official
Yeah.
and reminding him that it's his responsibility.
Right.
And finding out exactly, is he reporting on these? If you only have 4, I can see why, you know, maybe I missed a few.
No, there's many more. It's just
Oh.
they haven't gone through me.
Okay. All right. So maybe for our next meeting, we can get a report from him detailing how many complaints he has and where he is at in them in terms of, has he contacted the people? And like Norm said, I agree with you. I don't want to find these people either. All my neighbors are the ones that are complaining at me. I said, yeah, hey, I'm a selectman. I can get something done here. I'm trying. But, you know, all we want the guy to do is clean up his property, you know, and make it nice for the neighborhood. Now, if he doesn't have any money, well, you know,
He might not need money.
He
Right.
might just need the nudge,
Right.
which was,
So,
yeah.
but
Maybe we could somehow amend our lighting ordinance so that everybody knows who's the lead on that.
I don't
Yeah.
know
Well, they
that
have
to
the
amend
ordinance
the
needs to be
ordinance,
amended.
just the actions
We
that
just
enforce the ordinance.
we just need to work on our internal procedures
Yeah,
for
I
that.
think as long as Denise is still getting them and and we sit down with the building official to make him aware of that, that's his charge and he can do what he needs to do or speak to who he needs to
I agree
speak
with
to
what
reporting
Bill
back.
said before. You gotta get the most egregious
Right,
properties
right.
first and then go from there. And sometimes the most egregious might be an out-of-town landlord or something.
Yes, Delphi?
Welcome back. I'd like to address some of the things that Norm brought up. As far as the Palo property, the redevelop, that is a redevelopment project now. We received that grant several years ago. It took the state a year and a half to decide which department it was going to go into, whether it be DEP, which it is in, or the Department of Economic and Community Development. I've been reporting on that in my ad nauseum in my report every month. And the Palo Trust has, Attorney St. Ange has gotten us an access agreement. They're all in agreement. The engineers and the environmental consultants have been on that property since then. CME is the engineer that's in charge of that project, and they do have a draft bid that I have to review on Wednesday. So we are getting close on that, and that is for demolition and for hazardous materials abatement. As far as the Metal Mass property, that property has been sold to Dr. Belachandran, and it's one of Dr. Belachandran's, I think, gifts to Putnam as he wants to clean up some of these properties, and he has done a tremendous job on at least 6 properties in Putnam. He has bought the Metal Mass property, and he is going to demo some of the buildings in the back. He has given, if you look at that property, you can see that there's been a lot of site improvement, sort of, where there's been a lot of vegetation and trees removed. If you can see it around the back now. That contractor has until November 1st to complete that site work around there. And then he does have some plans for putting that building back together and demolishing some of the back buildings that are no longer viable.
Thanks, Del.
Actually, one thing I would like to add, because I kind of, pushed the blight ordinance at the beginning, knowing very, very how difficult it would be to enforce, but sometimes it's just, and we had this discussion at the redevelopment meeting last week, sometimes it's really just about the low-hanging fruit. Yeah. It's about people, just blood, sweat, and tears, about cleaning up their property, taking care of their trash, that kind of thing. That's the low-hanging fruit. Going through the rehabilitation, the housing rehab project, we know that there are a lot of absentee landlords who live in Florida or live in the North Carolinas or on Long Island, where they are just absentee landlords. They don't really care about the property as long as they have tenants and they pay the rent. That's kind of the target population where they can be held accountable. Certainly, there's always the problem of some people just can't afford to do it, and they're not going to take food out of their family's mouths, to repaint their house or something like that. So sometimes it's really, in my opinion, it's really about prioritization and just finding out, if we have complaints and address them, some can be dealt with, some maybe can't. But that's just my 2 cents.
That's why I called on you.
Tony, if I may, if we're going to have, no, this is just one point. If we're going to have Lee do a full report on his duties, I'd also like to see not only what building permits were issued, but what inspections he's done and what zoning issues have been addressed. Because even though he's technically been reporting for over a year, all we ever see is a list of what building permits have been issued. And there's a lot more to his position and his responsibilities than issuing building permits.
Good point. Okay. Town administrator's report. Does anybody have any questions for our town administrator on the report?
I only had the blight ordinance, and we just took care of that.
That's good. Okay, let's move on to 10. Unfinished business. 10A, town administrator's contract extension. This is a possible executive session because it's a personnel matter. Alma, where do we stand with that?
I've had everything that we could go into executive session if you would like to go on. If you want to make a motion.
Make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
Now?
Right now?
No, at the end of.
At the end of the meeting.
Well, you gotta say that.
Okay, at the end of the meeting.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Renee, was that you?
So the motion made to go into executive session at the conclusion, where it goes all other business that lawfully come before this board. Is that correct? And we get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Quinnebog Regional Tech Park. Scott is the lead salesman, and I want to know from, did the bids go out for the bridge?
No.
We're just close. Don't go there.
3 years I've been asking, I've been getting this close.
September 5th, they're going to be received October 3rd, and you will open them at your meeting, first meeting in October.
Perfect. Now, a question for Delphi.
Yes, sir.
How's the marketing going?
It's going just splendidly. Yes. Do you want me to read a report on marketing?
Yeah, no, I want your report on marketing.
Okay.
What do we got coming in? That's what I want to know.
Well, I was actually kind of reviewing today the marketing and feasibility study that was done by Beta Group, and the advertising marketing budget should be $52,000. However, I have $1,200, so there's going to be a lot of, leather on the sidewalks, as they say. But we have a couple of goals, and that's to best fit the regional assets of the tech park and providing the greatest quality and jobs, looking at real estate opportunities. But some of the marketing concepts that I'm looking at are regionalization, and I think based on Scott's brilliant plan of selling shares and that kind of thing, that this is truly a regional tech park. And I'm going to do quite a bit of outreach to those communities who are signing on, and that's really networking possibilities and capacity building possibilities, because for them to assist in the marketing too, not strategically, but just be a part of that, then that's certainly going to get them their share funding sooner rather than later. And again, it's just about capacity building. Looking at the cluster strategies for the economic development approach, which benefits the region, similar related firms and similar strengths that we have in our aeronautics, plastics, and our medical fields, and tapping into the industries that we already have in Putnam based on those clusters is not just about, we have seen, growth in our companies right here in Putnam, but they're very related to also the industries in Killingly and Plainfield also. So, and we have Impact Plastics, who is now adding on 10,000 square feet to their building. So it's tapping into the networking that they have with both vendors and providers and see what they're looking at. And, shovel ready is the #1 component that companies are looking for. It has to be shovel ready. So I still need to sit down with Don and with Doug just to find out from their perspective about the gas lines and that kind of thing. I don't have a complete handle on the infrastructure part. Sharing amenities, possible conference center, some of our resources that will be, more financially acceptable is working with CERC, which is the Connecticut Economic Resource Center that we have, and in close concert with DECD to develop and execute the marketing strategies. And these are all services that they provide, promoting real estate, linking clients to public and private resources, co-branding, coordinating promotions, website promotions, and reaching some of the target audiences that we're looking at. And also, our new website design. We know that people who are looking for locations are either going to commercial real estate firms or they're going to town websites, depending on the sizes of their businesses. I think I've said this before to a board of selectmen that normally it would take 8 months for people to decide where they're going to relocate, and now it's taking them an average of 80 minutes based on websites to cull down the possibilities, I should say. And the only thing I think I sent an email to Doug too, and finding out about the appraisals, if we're having appraisals done on the property values or whatever. think, statewide, an average is about 27,000, an acre. So, but I still have to find out if that's buildable or not.
Question.
Sir?
So you kind of got some of the strengths in there and talked about it, but have you done a SWOT analysis
With,
on our situation? Situation analysis, do a SWOT analysis of these are strengths, these are weaknesses, these are opportunities, these are threats.
well,
Because usually before I develop a marketing plan, it's all based on what my SWOT analysis tells me. So I don't know if you, I mean, I like to take it in steps, you know? Yep.
I actually facilitated a SWOT analysis at last Monday's meeting, with
On the tech park?
with the Plan of Conservation and Development,
Okay.
based on everything, Putnam-wide.
Okay.
But no, we haven't specifically done it on the, tech park.
Because you know, what I'd like to see before we jump into a marketing plan is, okay, how many other, you know, what's our competition? How many other potential lots out there for, you know, development are there for industry? So we know what our competition is, do it in
And
80-mile radius?
CERC has that all information
But-
based on the site finder.
Okay, but I'm just saying, put it into one nice SWOT analysis, then we can take the SWOT analysis and say, okay, this is the SWOT analysis, now let's develop a marketing plan.
Who were you thinking of having, to do,
You.
me doing all the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? I would, that's a great idea, because I can just list them off right now based on everything else. And that was really part of the marketing and feasibility study. However, I think it's better to bring in more eyes and ears than just my own. I mean,
That's fine, but I'm just saying, I like to kind of do it sequentially and kind of develop a plan.
Yep, and CERC does provide that service also.
And an additive to that, I'm sure people know that we have a tech park, right? So you probably have been receiving calls over the last year,
Sure, absolutely.
okay? And what's the feeling on that?
People know when they call me that they've already done some kind of market analysis already. They know that we are in the tri-state hub. They know that our property values are, and our taxes are probably some of the lowest in the state. But it's really about location, location, location. That's why they're calling me. The questions that they're asking first are, is it shovel ready? Are the utilities in there? And so I mentioned about the new bridge that's going in and that kind of thing. So they're, holding off a little bit.
Well, maybe 90% or 75% of them. Maybe you have 5% or 10% that I just want probably a site, knowing that you're going to have the infrastructure in and shovel ready.
And it's long-term and short-term goals for many of these businesses. If it's a short-term goal, they have to make the decisions now.
Yeah, understand that.
And that's why we're kind of assisting some of our clients that we have already to add on to what they have. And the long-term goals are pretty much the people who know that their life expectancy of their building, or they're looking to relocate someplace. But Connecticut's still a tough place to do business in. On September 23rd, we have, I've been invited to be a speaker. Putnam Bank is putting on all of the DECD programs that are coming out, or that have been out, the JET program, the STEP program, all of those for financial incentives. So hopefully we can get some interest there also. I'm going to the IECD, which is the International Economic Development, blah, 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 in Texas, which is actually the first convention I've been to. And I want to bring all the materials and things to Texas, because we'll be having people, both nationally and globally there.
What are you doing this Thursday night?
What's the date on Thursday?
Thursday is the 18th.
18th, at around 6:30.
We'd like you to come as to Brooklyn again. I feel like I'm a selectman in Brooklyn.
Right. We attended Brooklyn's public hearing, and a lot of the questions that the audience had was how is Putnam going to market this? And we weren't invited to speak. It was kind of their show, but I think you would be a good asset to kind of, even though we don't have the whole plan together, just kind of give them the kind of what you just gave us, you know.
Every town has their naysayers, and there's, you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
a couple ladies, a couple guys that, you know,
And then
they're crazy.
I just received a message from.
I got a call from one of them.
Okay,
I mentioned this to Doug, and I did get a call from a woman who's been putting articles in the paper.
yes,
And I was extremely upfront with her, and I sent her the marketing and feasibility executive summary, and
Good.
she asked a lot of questions, and I
Well,
gave her a lot of answers.
I anticipate those same questions coming up this Thursday. And then just this afternoon, I got a text message from Maureen up in Pomfret, October 7th. They're gonna be having a town meeting and they would like us to do a presentation. Of course, I never pass up the opportunity to do a nice presentation, but I think you would be a benefit there too, October 7th at 7 p.m.
I talked to Maureen
Yep.
today as well, and the entire Board of Finance of Pomfret and the entire selectmen in Pomfret approved this. So now they're gonna bring it to the people. And when we did the first presentation, they had a very good crowd there. So they're into it. The only thing that's golden for us is Scotland has already signed on.
Right.
So we're gonna get another 25% reimbursement rate from the state, which is good. Delphi, you're doing a good job, that's why we sent you to Texas. Okay,
Is that based on the email I got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, let's move
Scott,
on.
could you please send me those dates and times, please?
Yep.
B1, quit claim deed to YMCA Greater Hartford. Vote required.
Still being reviewed by the attorneys, not our attorneys, their attorneys.
Is that why they're so
Wait,
rich?
we
It
skipped.
takes them forever to do these things. Just wondered. Not you, Bill. Research electricity bills.
I have CME working on getting quotes from various energy suppliers, and I also have another firm, Integris, that I'm going to be sending our bills to.
You know, I mean, I'm no expert, but I am kind of cheap, so I consider myself an expert on little electricity rates. I was looking over the bills, and one supplier we have, Constellation Energy, is 8 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we might not have to do a whole lot of research. You've got some
Constellation.
suppliers in there, 14 cents, 15.5 cents.
The only problem is when we signed up the contract through CCM for our energy, they take all the best accounts and they aggregate those, and that's why you're getting good results. They won't take
They won't take our stoplights or our thing, okay, all right. Okay.
All right. Sidewalk handicap ramp bids.
State finally signed off on it, so you can make a decision to award a low bidder and notice to proceed.
We have those here?
Yes.
Yeah, what a difference.
Big difference.
I was just amazed on, they quoting the same thing.
Make a motion then, Pete.
Well, predicated on the individual doing the job, and he's liable and whatnot, I would go with the low bidder, so therefore I'd make a recommendation that we go with Clover Construction at a rate of 50.
No.
Well, no, Evergreen.
I'm sorry, Evergreen, I'm on the Evergreen, I'm sorry. Evergreen Landscaping Construction at a total of $57,723.
Second.
You said recommendation, you didn't say motion.
Motion,
So the motion made to go with Evergreen
yep.
as the low bidder to do their handicap ramps, second by Mr. Penpack. Any discussion?
Yes, have all of these been vetted?
Yes.
Yes.
They have, okay, that's fine.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Clover Green, you're in. Evergreen. Create a senior accountant position in finance department.
No.
Discussion?
Town of Putnam bid ordinance.
Bid ordinance.
Oh, sorry. Let's go.
We've been letting, town attorney cool the seals here.
Town of Putnam bid ordinance discussion. We have Mr. St. Ange here. He has recently completed final draft for everybody. Anybody have any questions for William?
After all this and everything, I just had one very, 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 very small change I would like to make on the second page on B, on where it says towards the end of the sentence, although the town may use an RFP process in appropriate circumstances, maybe the town should use an RFP process in appropriate
Wait,
circumstances.
where are you looking? Oh, the
B,
101.13B. Okay.
Right.
I see it now.
instead of may, use the word should.
Yeah, but are there instances where?
Inappropriate, it says though, inappropriate circumstances.
They still have some flexibility.
Oh, all right.
You still have the flexibility.
You're just tightening up maybe
Yeah.
should.
Right.
Inappropriate, yeah, that makes sense. I could live with that.
Bill, would that throw the curveball off too much?
No, frankly, what that section is designed to say is we're not going to, hire, I'll leave the legal counsel out, but we're not gonna hire an engineer or an architect based solely on price.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's what pretty much all town ordinances on this say. So may or should, if you're happier with should it shall be. I may even make that change.
Good, thank you.
Okay. I had one clarification, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Go right ahead, Bill.
This is written to apply town-wide. I know the Board of Education would take the position that it has nothing to do with any of their educational decisions. The first legal opinion I rendered to town of Putnam was 1975, and it was whether or not the Board of Education should have to follow a bidding ordinance. And I said for educational purposes they don't, but if they're buying something like school buses or mops or fungible items, I think that it covers them as well. I had a question, is whether or not this is designed, I think the Housing Authority awards its own bids, and has their own processes, and most of that is vetted, Doug, I believe, by the state of Connecticut. So I don't think the intention is that would apply to them, although I think they have their own bidding standards that are required by the state on all those state grants. The other question is the redevelopment agency has those projects for home rehab where you're bidding usually small projects, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but they're bidding things like either asbestos abatement or items that are designed to reduce blight. And they have historically dealt with those as a separate agency rather than the town. As town attorney, I can go either way, but I just thought maybe you people would have some guidance on, do you want any specific language going either way on this ordinance?
Well, while we're doing it, I think we ought to get everything we can that we know of in this ordinance. So if that seems like a pretty pertinent issue that you brought up, and I think that would fit the bill.
I thought the exceptions were going to include those, a provision, and I could be misremembering here, but I know we at least discussed it, doing things like stating the redevelopment agency isn't a town agency, and other things, the housing authority isn't a town authority, and therefore they're not covered by this bidding ordinance, and that way, should confusion or concern come up at some point in the future, it's in black and white that no, this ordinance, not only, rather than having to argue over can it apply to those agencies, it would be clear that it simply does not apply to those agencies. There's no need for legal opinion or other discussion at that point.
Well, there's two things you can do. You can either issue a blanket exemption, or I could give you language that said any agency with an independent, that's supervised by an independent board may certify to the Board of Selectmen that they have bidding ordinances at least as rigorous as this in place, and the Board of Selectmen, upon receipt of such certification, shall have the authority to exempt them. But they would have to certify to you in writing.
See, I don't like that because we have no I mean, my impression with some of these things is we don't really have any authority over them. How can we require they certify things to us in writing if
But
we
they're
have no
really
authority
still,
over them to begin with?
but
Because
they're
it's
still
not
part of
quite
the
as-
town.
It's not as crystal, with the housing
Yeah.
authority, it's a quasi-state agency.
Right.
The redevelopment agency has a bunch of state contracts, and they're
Right.
subject to the state of Connecticut, but they're also, you look in the town charter, they're both listed in the town charter as agencies of the town. The difference between them and the things done by
Right.
the regular town staff, in my view, is the regular town staff in general reports to the Board of Selectmen. The buck
Right.
stops with you guys. Whereas with a redevelopment agency or a housing authority, or for that matter, a Board of Education, or a library board, they each have their own independent boards. In the case of the library board and the, I don't think the library board's ever bought anything over $10,000. But the library board and the Board of Ed have their own independent elected
Right.
supervisors. The members of the redevelopment and the housing authority are appointed by you. So I can, my job is to write it down in the way that you guys want it, but you're gonna have to tell me what you want. If you just want a blanket exemption, I can draft that easily.
But see, the Board of Education makes up about 80% of the total town budget.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there are certain things, as you mentioned, like the buses, that should go off the bid,
Yeah.
and with this committee.
Well, it could say
that I don't trust them.
education.
Well,
Bill would know
this
the
says
language to
town as a
use.
whole, so if you,
Yeah.
if you want to exempt specific agencies, you just tell me which agencies you wanna exempt, and by the act of exempting those agencies, we'd certainly be suggesting any other agencies would be subject to it.
Right.
And once again, I think it's very clear, you cannot force the Board of Education to start bidding things like books where they're making an educational
No.
decision.
Right.
But with school buses or shovels or
Right.
vehicles,
Or paper.
Do you think we should talk to these agencies so that they know what we're talking about before trying to do something
Board
in a
would be
blanket
very
way and doing it
defensive.
incorrectly?
Yeah.
I'll talk to Bill tomorrow,
And it's just
with
not
his
him, I
best
think.
friend Doug Cutler.
It's just not, I don't think it's just him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would say redevelopment,
Yeah.
you should talk to
There
too.
should be everybody who's
Yeah.
involved, should be,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
able to give their opinion and tell us why not,
So,
or why.
Yeah.
so this is a finished product as far as I'm concerned. We will make that should change, and Doug, you'll check with the people and you'll let me know what additional exemptions you wish or don't wish.
okay,
Makes sense.
so with this, from may to shall,
Should.
Should.
excuse me, should.
Shall we too radical?
So,
Yeah, shall would be.
would someone make a motion to accept the revised bidding ordinance?
Are you agreeing with the motion?
We
Do
can't,
Are we?
we
No,
can't do
if
that
he's
yet.
looking at more things, I move that we table this to the next meeting pending input from the agencies who this ordinance may not cover.
I agree, but do we have, I mean, I would second that, but do we have a motion on the floor, Denise? I thought we had a motion that we were in discussion of the first motion still.
Right.
No.
No,
No, there was no
no, I
motion.
did not have one.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I didn't make a
Table.
motion to table.
Well, no, I mean, yes, that's the only one I had, because it wasn't a
Yeah, I
motion, it was a
Yeah.
question about changing the language.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed?
I'll still
Table.
make that one technical change.
Okay.
Now, Bill, you had Board of Ed, redevelopment, what was the other? one?
Housing.
Housing,
Housing.
And anybody else should
WPCA.
make?
WPCA would be the other.
Right, that would be the other
WPCA.
one.
Okay.
I knew there was someone
I
else.
think recreation and highway and all that are
All
clearly
under
under it.
Right.
Yeah, that's under.
Okay. Create a new senior accountant position in the finance department.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill, thank you very much.
Thank you, it's an honor and a pleasure as
I
always.
was out here before you, I thought, but you're right on the eight. What do you want to do here?
I think, I thought a lot about this, and I think what we need to do is, we're talking about everything we talk about, regionalization and efficiencies, and I really think one of the things we should do is talk to, for example, the Board of Education. Let's see what they have, if there's any efficiencies, they can help us out in any other ways here before we go out and hire somebody or put money into somebody when there could be somebody else that could help us. I just think we should have those discussions within the town hall and within the other departments first.
Well, I agree. I mean, Doug brought up a good point at the last meeting. I'm really leery about exceeding what the townspeople voted on as a bottom line number for our budget. So that I have an issue with. And the second thing is, you know, we do have that money that I guess we forgot to take out of the budget for the $10,000 or change.
Right.
Okay.
We didn't forget that, we put that in.
We put that in. Well, I mean, it's in there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I'd really like to see more training. I found out that not everybody has a user agreement, a licensing agreement. So I guess Denise doesn't have one. So, you know, I'd really like to explore that avenue before we pull the trigger and hire somebody new. I did find out on the good side is that, you know, we were worried about the high school with this building project. Because we've hired the construction manager, all of the work, all of the POs are going to be going to O&G, and O&G is in turn paying the subs. So it's not like there'll be 500 different subcontractors. It'll be O&G. I mean, it's still a $36 million project, but with
It's one guy.
With one guy. So I couldn't support it at this time. But I would support
what
training.
I'd like to see along those lines is that we need to get more training in
Absolutely.
accounts payable, accounts receivable, and purchasing. And the $10,000 that we have should be devoted to that.
Yep.
Because if we don't get caught up where we are, we're going to be behind forever and ever. So we got to quell this in its boots, if you will, and get something rolling. And maybe this person can do specifically that, go from, be like a liaison from the treasurer to everybody that needs them. And hopefully he can train them, and if they have questions, he can answer them. That
He or she.
Okay. Everybody's been trained. They know how to enter purchase orders. There's like at least 4 to 5 people. They can enter purchase orders. They can enter cash receipts. They can do invoicing. They can apply money to invoicing. What they keep doing frequently is they'll receive the same cash twice. Or, and it's not that it's nothing to do with AccuFund. They have no accounting background and they don't get it.
Right, and the training wouldn't have to be AccuFund training. I think it does sound like it would have to be better accounting principles. Yeah,
and how many times do you have to say, apply the money to the invoice?
But accounting, you know, as someone who only took accounting and financial systems class a couple of years ago, I can say from personal experience that where I was, let's say 3 years ago, and where I am now is very different. So if we look at trying to increase this, that the basic knowledge.
And even things like pick the right bank, you know. There's the Board of Ed payables, there's the town payables. If you're transferring money, pick the right bank. It's not hard.
here's where I was going with that.
Okay.
Where I was going with that, does this person that we have in mind for $10,000? Can we, okay.
There's no person for 10,000.
Okay, but if we should use that $10,000 for training, that we could get somebody that's competent, obviously, in terms of
See, I have a problem with us saying that somebody is incompetent.
Right.
Because we don't have, we hear that there's issues, but that's something, incompetence is a very strong word to bring out in a public meeting without any background.
No,
What
what I'm
if we
trying to
just say
say,
someone who is an experienced teacher of basic accounting principles
yes,
to right.
yes, because
Someone with a track record.
what I'm trying to say, you can't do it all.
Right.
That's
Th-
right.
This person would be devoted strictly to that has knowledge of accounting. That would be a runner, per se, from all departments.
I
and answer questions.
I think we have to do a
and
SWOT there
whatnot.
too. I mean, I don't think anybody we here don't know what's going on in that department to sit here and say, this is what we need. I think there's some investigation that needs to be done, some
That's why
talking to
I
other
said,
departments.
come follow me around for a week.
Yeah.
But
Talking to other departments, seeing what the needs are, and
Seeing
picking out the
what's
strengths of
happening.
all the employees and making,
Right.
giving, figure out what their strengths are and what we can work on
Yeah.
to make one person excel.
Right.
Instead of looking at weaknesses, let's look at the strengths and see how we can make that department work and see what other departments can help
Right.
us
And the,
before we can hire somebody.
Scott, you got the floor?
Yeah, no, I just want to make it clear, I'm not looking to hire a person. I'm looking to contract for services
Right.
or a subcontractor.
Right.
But Alma's absolutely right. In other words, you gotta look at this and say, okay, let's look at our situation, okay? Does this person, A, need accounting training, basic accounting, intermediate, advanced? What is their function? What do they need help on? And then you tailor your training to the
Or
needs.
tailor the position to
Or-
what they do best.
right, or the other thing that the SWAT could find, and I at least I want to keep open to this, is that training isn't going to solve the problem. In which case, we have to go back to consider, I mean, at this point, by the time we've done the SWAT, who knows how far in the future it'll be, but at least considering maybe we do need to have this senior accountant anyway, which
Well, you know,
our
last
auditors
week-
had liked.
Last week, I got 4 new grants. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's,
Okay, I think we've beaten this
Yeah.
horse to death, so we gotta do one or the other. So we need a
How are
motion.
we gonna do what would be the motion to do exactly?
well, I just should
Yeah.
commit to the $10,000 that was marked to give me help.
The
Doug
motion
and
is
I
to
interviewed.
create a new
Right.
senior
No,
accounting.
I don't
So
think
you-
that's the
Well,
motion,
Well, that's what
that's
that's
what's
the
Yeah.
intended.
but
So I think you have to put that motion up and either vote it up or
Vote
vote
it
it down.
down. And then you can do all the training, whatever.
no, I don't think that's necessarily the case. It's
What
just,
would the case
if
be?
there's been no motion to do that, then it's an item up for discussion.
I agree.
It's an
I
item
agree.
that's up for discussion until a motion has been made to do it. There's no reason everything on an agenda needs to be put to a motion or put to a vote. We agree on something. I wish
I
Bill
do.
were here as our Roberts Rules expert,
Okay.
but.
Well, we can make a motion that revolves around this
Right.
this item on the agenda, but it doesn't have to be worded exactly the way it's on the agenda.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm wondering is, I like the idea of doing some sort of an analysis. I'm just not, I've made a lot of motions in my day here and elsewhere, and I'm not sure how I would word this.
Well, we can't leave the financial department
Right.
hanging one way or the other.
Right, absolutely.
The decision has to be made tonight.
Yes.
No matter how you wanna
Well,
word this thing.
How about if we make a motion that we explore, or have conversations with other departments to see if there's some sort of outreach or some sort of,
Dare I say general government committee table? I know, I'm slitting
Well,
my own
I'd
throat
like
here,
to,
but.
I'd like to go further than that, so that we can earmark this $10,000 or whatever that number is to
Well,
training.
first of all, the 10,000 has already been earmarked to a certain extent to,
Right.
because we've hired
Right.
somebody to help assist in the office,
Okay,
To assist doing what?
An intern.
an intern,
an intern. Okay.
But doing what?
doing accounting, basic accounting functions in the finance office.
Well, Scott and then Doug.
Well, that blows my motion out of the water.
Okay, your
Well, we're
motion.
not, we haven't spent the entire 10,000.
Yeah,
I think
Okay, I have an idea.
Go ahead.
We have the 10,000 that is earmarked to a position, correct?
No,
No,
No.
Just for help.
for
it's
help.
for help.
The help.
yes.
Oh,
Okay, but that's only $10,000. However, we have the other, what number was it? For benefits?
About 20,000.
20,000.
So you got
So
another
that gives us $30,000 to finish this fiscal year to come up with someone that's competent that can help Sandra. We have $30,000 to work with, not 10.
Agreed.
So, do
But
we
that
hire someone
30,000
on a
has to be
limited
transferred.
basis?
Right,
What's that?
it would have
That
to be.
30,000 has to be transferred
Yeah.
between departments.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about hiring anybody, I'm talking about subcontracting for training.
That would be fine as well.
Or finding that we might be able to have a department that can help us with efficiencies and not necessarily have to hire somebody.
That's fine.
Right.
So I think it's,
I think we need someone to come in here who is totally away from this whole situation, and that's an expert, whether it's in auditing, whether it's someone to look at and say, okay, this person's great in accounting.
Right.
This person is a little weak in this area. You have to strengthen. Somebody different from us, Sandra, to come in and look at it. Not a forensic accounting.
We need to undertake an analysis
How about a process?
of the accounting related processes within departments and on a town-wide level to determine how to move forward. Does that work?
I think we're getting too deep here.
Yeah.
All she says is somebody puts money in the wrong account. How many times do you have to tell that person? Do you know what to do? You don't know what to do?
Well, we have to be careful. We have to be careful of personnel issues.
I understand that, but
It's
you know, how
hard to
many times
discuss
do you
this
have to
without
tell
getting
somebody to
into
do
that.
something right? You know,
Well,
that's up to
apparently
you.
the answer is
That's up to
a
you.
lot.
I got people I have to take care of every day, and if I don't tell them almost every single day,
Right.
they're going to forget.
Right.
And if I forget, I might have somebody die. So
Yeah.
I can't. You have to repeat yourself over and over. I don't care if they got a master's degree. They're as dumb as anybody else. You know, they really are.
So what are we doing with
But
this
should
issue?
we be running a town that way?
What's
Well,
that?
that's the way we've always done it.
No, but there's two things here. We have to also be proactive.
Yeah.
We're falling further and further behind
Right.
from where we are.
Right.
So I know we can do all the audits you want and whatnot, and long and behold, we're already halfway through the year.
Right.
So I agree with Scott. We have to have some kind, we have to have an assessment, but
Yes, there we go. There's the word.
maybe this person that we have we can use him to assist us with regard to the people that we do have, and to see if they're trainable or what their shortcomings are and whatnot. But that's all he would do specifically.
Scott?
So I make a motion that we take the unexpended funds that were in the budget for approximately $20,000 and use that money to first do a needs assessment and second to subcontract and hire training to support the needs of the accounting staff.
Motion made, is there a second?
Nobody wants a second?
No,
Why? What did they say about it?
because I think what we need is the needs assessment. After
Figure
we
out.
have the needs assessment, we determine maybe we do need an assistant in the department. Maybe that is the best thing for the town. Maybe the best thing is the training for the town. Maybe the best thing is
I
something
wanted
that
to
none
do-
of us thought
I
about.
wanted to
So
do a-
just do the need, no, you said both.
Yeah, I want to do a needs assessment on the training.
Who's gonna do the needs
I-
assessment?
No.
We're going
Right.
to subcontract somebody.
We need to hire someone to do a needs
Okay,
assessment.
but
I think Scott has the floor.
Yeah.
So my idea was to do a needs assessment on the training to find out if the
No.
I'm talking.
Sorry. I apologize.
Okay. The needs assessment on the training to find out if the person needs help in accounting, if the person needs help in AccuFund, if the person needs help in life in general, okay? Once you do the needs assessment, then you determine, okay, this is the training that I want to give them. Now, what I don't want to do is, because I don't want to spend a penny more than we voted on the budget, is I don't want to exceed that dollar amount that we paid last year. So that negates hiring a person as a senior accountant or as a part-time accountant or whatever. So it's all about training. You first determine the needs, and then you give them the training after you determine the needs.
Doug?
Not to get away from what your motion is, but right before you put up that motion, I was thinking, I want to ask this question. Sandra, can you finish this fiscal year with an intern or someone hired for the $10,000 is already earmarked for an intern? Will that expenditure of $10,000 on whoever that person is, can you take that $10,000 and finish this year and get everything done that you need to get done?
I really hope so. You know.
Are you confident that the $10,000 will get it done?
It's gonna make a huge difference.
Okay,
It's
thank
gonna
you.
make a huge difference.
That's where my line of thinking was going. the issue that we're dealing with right now is Sandra's saying she's getting flooded with work. She can't keep up. She needs another body to help dot the I's and cross the T's. So we have $10,000 in the budget. Rather than make a motion or try to deal with what Scott's trying to deal with, maybe we can take a few more weeks or a few more months to figure that out. At least tonight we can say, hey, we have the $10,000. She says she can use it. It will help her out. Why can't we make a motion to spend the $10,000 to get her that person?
But I got one.
You
He's
can't
working
make
right
a
now.
motion.
What's that?
He's working right now, the intern.
Yeah, but
Yes,
We've got a
that's why
kid.
there's not a whole 10,000 available anymore.
Right. We have a senior at Nichols College,
Okay.
a marketing, accounting
Accounting and finance major.
guru, who's got almost a 4.0 average.
Okay.
Who was doing work that Sandy
He's
gives him.
smart. He's
Very
smart.
smart, intelligent.
Okay,
fellow.
so that's
I've had him for
happening
3
right
years.
now as we speak.
Right.
so what is he specifically doing right now?
I actually showed him how to do some bank reconciliations, and he did some of those. I have shown him, he's gonna work on a project for me to make sure that the budget numbers that are in the system are actual budget numbers, and to help get ready for the audit, just general accounting stuff.
Okay,
And I
can-
only had him for, and I don't even mean 3 whole days.
Okay.
Like 2 hours one day.
But could we put him on specifically?
And he's also doing some cash receipting,
Yeah.
as far as like credit card payments coming. He's just, you know,
Yeah, but
I'm
could
gonna
we
teach
put
him
him,
everything.
can we put him on specifically on the, to do our accounts payable training, our accounts receivable?
I'm
I
sure
mean,
she-
to understand,
He
to
needs help in
understand.
every
He can
area.
get it. He's
I'm sure she's having him do whatever work she
I'm
needs
gonna
him to
teach
do.
him how to do
Right.
everything,
Right.
everything.
But what I'm saying, above and beyond that, is, you know, the whole question was, do we hire a senior accountant? I'm not in favor of that, especially now that I found out we're spending the $10,000 on this helper that we think will get her through the year.
Okay.
But the other problem that lies in is she keeps telling us that there's a skill set that some
That's
people don't
what I'm
have.
getting.
So what I'm saying is, what I would like to do is do a needs assessment and then subcontract out training based on what that needs assessment tells us. And not to exceed whatever that money is in the budget, the $20,000 number. It might only be 5,000 or 6,000, whatever. We do the needs assessment, we train the people, and go from there.
That's in addition
I
to.
In addition to this,
Yeah.
this $10,000 guy that you already
And
got.
my only concern is that as you're making your proposal, you're assuming that the needs assessment will say training's the way to go. If we're going to do a needs assessment, I'd rather do a truly open-ended needs assessment and have the assessor decide, among other things, is this a problem training can fix? Because I think that's an initial threshold question that needs to be asked. And if we're gonna have someone come in and do an assessment, I think it's important that we don't assume the answer to that question will be yes. It very well may be, I hope it is. But we can't
I
I
agree.
assume.
also think the
I
other,
agree.
the other side of that would be, we don't want a closed-ended like that, because it might not be training, it might be that we give it to a different, maybe the Board of Ed will take something on, or maybe
Right.
we find an efficiency in another
Exactly.
area. So
We don't know.
I think at
I
this
will,
point,
I will rescind my motion.
I think at this point,
Accept it.
what Doug has said, it may be what we should act on at this point, which is exactly what you said about the $10,000 and using that to get her to the end of the year. I think,
That's already
and then,
happening.
That's
That's already
happening right
happening.
now.
but I think the part that's important is getting the needs assessment done.
Yeah.
So Sandra, that is working, right? This intern is working and it's working out well for you.
How long is the intern for this semester or for the year?
I can keep him probably until May when he graduates.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect. Okay. So we beat that thing to death.
We need a recommendation to authorize the mayor of the Board of Finance to transfer the 20,000.
Do we have to transfer it right now?
Or do we need to do?
To do,
needs
what's this?
We were talking about the 10,000, not 30.
Yeah, the 10,000.
10,000 is already
The
spent.
10,000 is in the budget.
Done.
I
Right.
understand.
I
It's
think,
her,
right.
it's her prerogative to spend that money how
Right.
she did. What you're saying though is to do a needs assessment, you wanna spend up
Oh,
to 20,000. That has
That's
to be a
fine.
transfer. We can't take it up, we can't spend it out of that
Right.
account.
Don't we want to do an RFP first to find out how much we're gonna need before we
Well,
do the
20,000 should get
transfer?
you pretty far.
Yeah, but are we gonna need 20,000?
No,
I
just
guess
say
my
not
point.
to
Up
exceed
to.
20,000.
Okay.
and you guys wanna expand the scope and not just include training, but to do a whole needs assessment and
Right.
recommend whatever path it may recommend.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Staffing.
Sandra, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, then make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Fringe benefits.
Yeah, so seconded,
We have
however
to,
you
we have to
word it.
transfer money from
The fringe benefits.
fringe benefit account not to exceed $20,000. Is that a motion?
To,
Oh, I'm sorry.
to undertake,
Insurance account. The health
Insurance
okay,
account.
to undertake a needs assessment, I second.
Okay, you have
So to
that whole thing,
transfer
Denise?
from, I'm sorry, transfer from
Insurance.
Insurance.
from insurance
Not to exceed $20,000.
for needs assess. Yeah, got it.
Okay, any more discussion? Thank the gods. All those in
You
favor,
okay with that,
signify
Scott?
by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pete's exempted. Okay.
Okay.
Grant consideration and updates. Are there any, Doug?
I will be bringing to you at the first meeting in October a recommendation or a consideration for the steep grant.
Okay, very nice. New business. I'm sorry to keep these citizens waiting, but consider granting a temporary permit to Kevin Anderson.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kev, get your gun permit from right up there. B, Robert Kumpel. Bobby, did I have you in school?
Yes, you did.
You haven't changed a bit. It's
Are you? Candy, come on. You don't have to butter roll up anymore.
Temporary permit for Robert Kumpel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bob, get it, Bobby. Just use it the right way. Don't come after me.
That's right, that's right. Maybe that was a stand up.
And consider temporary permit for Rhonda White.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Rhonda, you have to sit through an hour and 25 minutes of aggravation. You can get your bit and you can go home.
Thank you.
Okay. D, consider the request from the Ann Miller Connecticut Women of Hope to host a 5K road race, 1 mile walk, leaving from the Elks and follow the low traffic path through Putnam.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, Andy, start walking. Approve the bills.
Make a motion, we pay all the 3 bills.
No.
Except one that we didn't.
What's I think I made a motion to second it.
It wasn't approved.
It wasn't approved. Okay, you're right. That's right.
See?
I'd give
Discussion.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Was it
Alma
Peter?
did.
Alma.
Jumped right in
Alma,
there.
okay.
S&S is the one we're holding up.
Well, let's not, we're talking about the approved bills. We can talk
Right.
about that in a second.
Okay.
All those in favor of approving all approved bills?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, what problem do we have with bills, Scott and Ben?
There was one in there from S&S, and just so you know, I had a building committee meeting last week at the middle school. I walked out of the building committee, and it was twilight, it was dusk, so the light wasn't good. But right in front of me, lo and behold, right at the curb cut going in the parking lot, we're standing there talking and having a conversation. I look down, and I see brand new asphalt with all kinds of cracks all over it, little fissure cracks. Now, I'm no expert at asphalt, so what I did is I took a picture, I sent it to Denise, and I said, look, I said, does Jerry have to sign off on this, or what happens, what's the process? Because if that was my driveway, I probably wouldn't pay the bill. And I would like to wait until our highway foreman looks at it to says yay or nay, it's good or it's bad. I also was informed after the fact from Mr. Hull that they knew that the school opening date was whatever date it was, August 31st or whatever, and that they were 5 days late. They opened school without a parking lot and had to live with that for 5 days. Mr. Hull repeatedly called SAS and could not get him back on the job site. We heard a rumor they might have been paving East Putnam Fire Department at that time. Yes.
We had them first.
But anyway, so you know that's not the reason I'm not signing that bill. I want to see if what that job looks like. Like I say, I've only done a few driveways in my life that I've paid for, and they never have those cracks like that. So.
Did Jerry get back to you on that,
He did, but until he gets an opportunity to go out and see it in person, he can't comment.
It's not very long though, Scott. They're only about this long.
But I didn't go over the whole parking lot. I saw that, and I'm like, what else is there? And it just kind of raised a red flag.
Right.
Maybe it's nothing, but I'd like it looked at first before we stroke that check.
Okay,
Agreed.
Good point.
Agreed.
Any other business to lawfully come before this meeting? Yes, Nora. See that you are the fire marshal, I can call on you.
Could I get an explanation as Department Facility Study Group, exactly what that is?
It's gonna be tomorrow, you're there. We consolidated all the building committees into one.
Well, you said something about a complete new.
Well, there'll be different and new bodies on this committee.
There are 2 new people on it, but we're still on.
Yeah, the old guys, like
I
you and Doug,
haven't, well, what caught my eye is that I'm on the committee, but I haven't heard of this until you just said it.
swear to God.
Oh, boy.
You have an
I'm into
email?
blight now.
That's not good.
Norm, you're on
What
the
time is
committee.
this meeting?
7 o'clock.
Tomorrow
I
night.
sent you an email.
Did he send you an email?
Sorry.
Okay, Norm, you got it. And for you, we'll have a cup of coffee for you. Cold.
Iced coffee.
Ice. The fire marshal. We need a motion on executive session, I believe.
Do we want to do public comment first?
Yeah, but I don't.
Public comment, anybody have any public comment? How did I know you guys were gonna talk again?
We've been waiting here all night.
You've been entertaining us all this time. I wanted to talk about blight, since you spent so much time talking
I don't
about
wanna talk
blight.
about it, but go ahead. Give me-
Well, the point you got across is, it don't work.
It doesn't work.
Okay, so can I suggest something?
Go right ahead.
He's gonna volunteer.
Years ago, that's how things were done. People volunteered to help their neighbor. I wish you would do something. If somebody comes in with a complaint, have a form filled out. Did you go to the neighbor and consult with them about it? Have you offered to help them? Would people on your street work with you? How about the town putting together a volunteer committee to go around and help all of these problems? Now, I realize you're gonna demolish a building, it's probably not for, a volunteer group. But it sounds like 90% of your problems could go away with citizen participation. So I wish you would put it on your agenda and give us some discussion. You could be the showplace of Connecticut by doing the old-fashioned way, instead of a new hammer that everybody wants to use that don't work.
But usually it's the neighbor that complains about the neighbor. About the light. He's gonna help them.
You know,
But I agree with you.
Years ago, everybody had bond raisins, they did this, they
Years
did
ago.
that. Why can't we go back to old-fashioned? Why are we gonna have the big hammer?
Because 78% of all the attorneys in the world live in the United States.
Well, you got an opportunity here.
We'll try it.
Because something's not working, and you know it don't work, because everybody in the state says it don't work.
I'll give you a little, for instance.
Now, are you gonna help?
This one complaint that our neighbors had, we actually 3 years ago pitched in and had a guy go and mow the guy's lawn and say, hey, we got a clean, fresh start, blah, 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 and nothing happened.
Hasn't
Nothing
been
happened
done
after that, so, and that's kind of what got everybody a little upset afterwards,
So, is that all you have, is grass? Is that
Well,
all the
it's-
problem?
It's beyond that.
It's beyond, it now, after 3 years, grass turns into brush and dead trees and vines and stuff growing out of the gutters and
Oh,
things
so
like
now they
that.
got an arboretum for you to look at.
Yeah.
No,
So-
there are exceptions to what I'm suggesting.
Right, yes.
But I just think you can do something that's, has initiative and pride, and, this Putnam is the town that everybody wants to come to, so why don't you showplace it with all these other things? So that's
Very
my
good
comment.
suggestion, very good suggestion. Mr. Dano,
Yes.
hand was up.
Yeah, okay, my 3 minutes here. In regard to the Quinebaug Valley Tech Park, I spoke with a gentleman on First Friday here last, who apparently made his living as a software developer and installing tech parks in foreign countries in the Caribbean. He said to me that he would be willing to assist the town of Putnam in putting in a little device called a GigaSwitch. A GigaSwitch is a apparatus that all the security apparatus that all the top tech companies want before they will come into a site, such as Microsoft, Apple, Cisco, or so forth. I would be glad to share that information with the Economic and Redevelopment or anyone else.
And the town manager.
And the town manager. The name of the gentleman, he is currently a consultant with Crabtree and Evelyn. All right. The other issue is that with the Economic and Redevelopment, the director, Delpha here, came into the Board of Finance as well as the Board of Selectmen and asked to waive fees, which I believe she's entitled to, and I have no objection. What I do have an objection to is that during her request, she did not mention the address, the name of the owner, the type of permit, or what was to be done at that time, or the amount in the Board of Selectmen. I think that if the Economic and Redevelopment Agency is going to ask to waive a permit fee, that it should be identified exactly when, who, and where.
That gentleman was here that night.
He was here.
Foster.
Who are we talking about?
Foster.
We also had- we
Foster.
also-
That was at the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah.
You forgot to pick up your paper because it was right on a piece.
Yes, and he
Yeah.
knew he wasn't gonna get it.
Yeah.
We weren't gonna
Well, I
waive the
left
fees.
early that evening.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you missed
Well,
it.
there was one made at the Board of Finance as well. I don't know if is that the same?
I did not make one at the Board of Finance.
It wouldn't go to the Board of
That,
Finance.
no.
It came to us and we said no. We didn't even
Discuss it.
discuss
I
it.
know that
Because we talked about, there was already an ordinance and we didn't
Right.
even.
The only thing we
Yeah.
waived was the building permits for the school, because we'd be taxing it ourselves.
We'll be
Yeah.
taking money
Yeah.
from one pocket.
And put it in the other pocket, so it makes no sense.
They threw me right out of the room that night.
She was out before she got in here.
The final question is, how is the website going anyway?
Talk to Denise.
How's the website going, Denise?
We are out of funds as far as overtime goes. So I'm trying to do as much as I can on my own time.
Well, my understanding was that you had hired a virtual town hall to redo the website. Is that, and
Right, but they need a skeleton, if you will, from us before they can start designing the website. You can't just say, go. There's a lot of pre-work. They gave us a list of what had to be done up front. And that's what I'm trying to work on the best I can.
Before they get involved. And there's no money paid Denise. She's doing this stuff on her own at her own house. And it's unfortunate. Before virtual town hall can come in, Denise has got to, or her committee has got to give them a plan, a blueprint, if you will, and then they'll come in and do it.
Right, and my impression is there have been discussions among the departments, what would you like to see on it?
And then once we get to the department head stage, I will meet with the individual department heads on what they would like on their page. But that would be after they can get started with the homepage skeleton. They can start their work, and then we just need to go. But
Okay.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
so there's no particular deadline set here for.
No, it's very
for
aggravating.
launching.
If you remember what Delphi said, in this day and age, in 80 minutes, a company's gonna make a decision based on your website.
Well,
And we spend money like other towns wastefully in government, and where we should put money, we don't. So,
Maybe with the needs assessment, there might be other people that
maybe
can
in
help with that.
this
IT
budget that's
too.
coming up, there'll be a chunk of money put aside for web development.
Yeah.
Even though I'm awful on a computer, I know the importance of it.
You know it's.
Okay, need a motion to go into executive session.
I move that we adjourn the public portion of the meeting to reconvene the executive session.
Second.
Motion made, say all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.